We're going to spend a lot of time talking about how to spin up machines on fly dynamically. This means making API calls instead of using your terminal and using the flyctl command. Okay, so here we're just going to check out the documentation on creating a machine real quick. There's a few things to go through here if you want, but the highlights are that we can call api.machines.dev as the URL or the domain to use to make API calls. Alternatively, if you really wanted to, you could do Fly Machines API proxy or VPN into your Fly organization and make calls internally like this as well. There's no real benefit to that anymore. There used to be one, but now the public API point is just fine. You can set up environment variables like get your fly auth token with this command and set that as a variable if you want to. And then we can start making calls. We can do operations on an app. So before you can create machines, you need an app into which to create those virtual machines. So you can just do a call to create or destroy or whatever, an app here. An app is just like a namespace you're adding machines into, right? It's just a shell. More interestingly is the operations on a machine. And of course, they create a machine endpoint, which shows all the things we can do when we create a machine, all the configuration we can send as a JSON object. So the region, the name, and the config object here are the main ones. And I'm not going to cover all of this right now, but we'll go into them as we make more videos and as I show you some more tricks on how to spin up machines. Okay, so as fun as looking at documentation is, let's actually try something out here. I have made this machine.json file. This is the JSON structure I'm going to pass to an API call. And I'm just going to pass it this file instead of writing it out on the terminal myself. So all I have here is a JSON object, and this is going to make up the request that we send to the machine's API. So the region is Boston. I'm going to keep using that. And then in the config object here, we have most of the stuff we care about. That correlates to the config up here, all the way up here, into which we say the Docker image to use, how large the server should be, if we should auto-destroy it, services, if you want this to be available over or through the Fly proxy, so over the public internet or over a private network, but still through the Fly proxy. That's something else. We'll cover that later. And all the other stuff you might need here. So in our config, we're going to do simply just the image here. Now, this image should look familiar to you. This is the Docker image that we previously built and pushed up to the Fly registry. When you make API calls to spin up a machine over the API, you don't have the chance to build that Docker image on the fly like we just did with the flyM run command previously. So this needs to be pushed up ahead of time. Now it is already, since we did that in a different video, right? So I can just say the image registry.fly.io for the Radom app and that v1 tag I made previously. The guess, I'm just giving this 2 CPUs and a lot more memory, even though I don't need to because I'm just running this tiny little Golang app. And auto destroy true, just like before. This is just like using that --rm flag in the command. This will destroy the machine when it's done running its process. So that is what I'm going to do. We just do a good old-fashioned curl command here. And let me see if this is the right thing. It is. So it is going to accept JSON as a content type of JSON. The authorization is a bearer token. It's going to add that into my command here so I don't ever hard code it into this video, right? So fly auth token is going to return a string of my token that's valid for my account. And then I can do api.machines.dev under the app named Radom. We're going to create a new machine, right? It's a post request. We're creating a new machine resource under this URI. And for the JSON data, we're just going to tell the curl request to grab the contents of my machine.json file here. Okay, so we got a response. This is basically saying this was made. It's returning the JSON representation of the machine, including the machine ID, which is telling us that this actually was created successfully. So I can do fly logs-a radom, and I'll do an instance ID of the one we just created. And we should see logs for that. And we do, right? It outputted the stuff, and then the machine stopped. And since it was so quick, it did that before I even had a chance to check out the logs. Great. And if I do fly list-a, of course, there's no machines anymore there. So I can't check out the events for that specific machine. But that machine was created and then destroyed after it ran its process. So we're all good there. So in upcoming videos, we're going to see how to manage machines dynamically using our code, which will just make API calls to the machine's API.